That night, Kansas City was colder than usual. The wind howled through the street trees, whispering like the truth that was about to be ripped from its 16-year grave. Inside a 2-story wooden house belonging to the Carter family, the kitchen light still glowed, casting a pale reflection on the tense face of a middle-aged man sitting at the dining table, a coffee mug in front of him that had long gone cold. Daniel Carter, 43, the devoted father of a girl he believed was his own, was waiting. He was no stranger to sleepless nights. But this time, it was different. This wasn't a night spent worrying about his daughter's finals or late-night spreadsheets for clients. This was a night filled with something unfamiliar even to a man who prided himself on being in control. Fear. The clock struck 12:18 a.m. A soft creak echoed from the downstairs window. Daniel didn't need to look, he knew. She had snuck out again and was now sneaking back in. He stood up, silent, leaning against the back of the chair, arms folded, when Emily, his 16-year-old daughter, opened the door and stepped in. She flinched slightly when she caught his eyes in the dim hallway light. "Where the hell have you been?" he asked, voice low and steady. Emily rolled her eyes, pulling her earbuds down. The oversized hoodie only made her look smaller, swallowed in the silence of the house. "None of your business," she snapped, tossing her backpack on the couch, trying to walk past him like he didn't exist. "As long as you're under this roof." "It is my business," Daniel said, stepping into her path. His voice was firmer now, each word clipped like a slammed door. "You disappear after 10 p.m. Don't answer your phone. And sneak back in like some damn thief." She cut him off, her eyes flaring with defiance. "You don't get it, do you?" Daniel frowned. "Try me." And then, the invisible slap landed, from the very mouth of the girl he'd raised with everything he had. "You're not even my real dad. My real dad is better than you." Silence. A silence so brutal, even the walls felt like they were holding their breath. Daniel froze, not because of the words, but because of the way she looked at him, like he was nobody. Like every year they'd spent together was a disposable memory. He turned his head slowly toward Rachel, his wife, who sat rigid on the couch. Stunned, her eyes were wide, her mouth open, like she wanted to deny it. But she didn't, and it was that silence that broke him. "Go to your room," Rachel said weakly. Emily smirked like she'd won, and stormed upstairs, her footsteps pounding defiantly with each step. Daniel didn't move, his fists clenched. He didn't know who he wanted to hit, Emily, Rachel, or himself for being so blind. "Explain," he said, his voice sharp as a blade. Rachel lowered her head, nervously twisting the sleeve of her shirt. "She's just mad. Dan, teenagers say things. Did you correct her?" he cut in. "Did you tell her she was wrong?" Rachel didn't answer, and that said more than any words ever could. Daniel turned away, chest heavy like concrete bricks. Memories stormed in, Rachel's work trips, the unfamiliar receipts, the way Emily's eyes never quite matched his. Maybe he'd been lying to himself all along. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the family photo on the wall, an old picture of the three of them at the park. Emily at 6, gap-toothed and grinning, clinging to his finger. That photo had once meant forever. Now it felt like evidence. Around 2 a.m., he heard a whisper from Emily's room. The door was slightly ajar. He crept closer, held his breath, listened. "Yeah, I told him. He has no clue. You're way cooler than him. Dad, I can't wait to meet you." Daniel stepped back, heart pounding. Dad. But it wasn't him she was talking to. He clenched his fists, felt his lungs tighten. This man, whoever he was close enough to plan a meeting. Close enough to be real in Emily's eyes. And Daniel? He'd just been replaced. The next morning, Rachel acted like nothing had happened. Scrambled eggs, forced smiles, coffee that tasted like guilt. Emily came downstairs, grabbed toast, didn't look his way once. Daniel didn't say a word. What was left to say? After they left, Rachel to work, Emily to wherever, he walked into the living room, stood in front of the framed family photo, stared at it, then slowly, he flipped it face down against the wood. No drama, no outburst, just this thought: if I'm not her father anymore, then I'll stop pretending to be one. And in that moment, the silent father turned into the man who would fight back. The wind swept hard across Kansas City that evening, rattling the blinds in Daniel's upstairs home office. The pale glow of his laptop screen lit up his face, casting shadows that only deepened the lines carved into it overnight. Daniel Carter was tracking a ghost. Jake. That name, just a single word, appeared again and again in the family phone log. No last name, no photo, but always late at night. Daniel started with the number. He wasn't an IT guy. But after 2 decades of auditing business accounts and sniffing out hidden expenses, digging up phone records wasn't outside his skill set. The result? No ID, no registry, a burner phone, the kind used once and tossed, the kind used by people who didn't want to be found. His blood ran hotter with each click. But it wasn't anger anymore, it was fear. Who the hell was getting close to his daughter, and hiding while doing it? He dug deeper. Onto forums. Into Reddit threads warning about suspicious numbers. One comment made him stop cold. Watch out for a guy named Jake. Promised my daughter a modeling job. Took off with $5,000. All charm, no conscience. Daniel's jaw clenched. His chest rose and fell as he clicked the attached link. Jake, Miles. Mugshot. Age mid-30s. Sharp jawline. Smirking eyes. A predator's face hiding behind a charmer's grin. Arrested years ago for online fraud. Targeting underage girls by pretending to be a talent scout. Daniel stared at the image. This was who Emily now called Dad. His stomach churned. His fists curled tighter as a familiar sound approached down the hall. Rachel. The door creaked open. She hovered in the doorway, wringing her hands in that same old nervous tick. Dan, we need to talk, she said. Her voice was tight, brittle. He didn't turn. About what? He asked flatly. Eyes still locked on Jake's face. She hesitated. Emily's out of control. She's gone every night. She's shutting me out too. Daniel let out a sharp, joyless laugh. She told me I'm not her dad. And you? You didn't say a damn thing. So now? She's got her real dad. Go talk to him. Rachel's face went white. She stepped into the room, quietly closed the door behind her, leaned against the wall like the weight of everything finally hit. Please, Dan, I didn't know it would go this far. I didn't mean for any of this. Daniel spun his chair around, eyes locked onto hers, colder than she'd ever seen. What did you mean to happen? She swallowed, trembled, then finally, it came, her voice shaking like a child. 10 years ago, when things were bad, I met someone. It was just a few weeks. It ended, but we had that fight about money. And I said maybe Emily wasn't yours. I didn't mean it, but she overheard, and I didn't correct it. The room turned to ice. Daniel leaned back slowly, eyes shut, a bitter chuckle escaping his lips. It was the laugh of a man who just heard the final nail hit his own coffin, but had nothing left to bury. You let her believe a lie. For 10 goddamn years. I'm sorry. Rachel sobbed. Please talk to her. She's slipping away. He stood, walked past her, eyes dark, voice calm in a way that scared even her. She slipped the moment you let her go. Now it's my turn. That night, Emily slipped out again. Daniel didn't stop her. He watched from the window as her silhouette disappeared down the alley. He waited 15 minutes, grabbed his coat, got in his car, lights off, 2 blocks behind. Like a ghost, Emily got on a city bus to Midtown, stepped off near an abandoned strip mall. She ran to a man under the street lamp, leather jacket, slicked hair, casual stance. Daniel's breath caught. Jake. From the shadows, Daniel watched. Emily laughed, hugged him. Jake touched her hair, tapped her shoulder, but his eyes, they scanned her. Not like a father, like a hunter. Daniel's hand gripped the door handle, but he stopped himself. Not yet. The next morning, he made a call. Hello? That voice, smooth, cocky, always a grin behind every word. Daniel clenched his jaw. This is Daniel Carter, Emily's father. A beat, then laughter. Oh hey, man, she told me about you. What's up? Daniel kept it steady. How much for you to disappear? Jake didn't skip a beat. Straight to business. Huh? I like that. Let's say, $5,000. She's worth that, right? Daniel's stomach churned, but he said, tomorrow, 8 p.m. Parking lot behind the old warehouse on 5th. Bring her. I don't care. Click. Game on. Daniel didn't feel like a victim anymore. He felt like the last line of defense. And this time, he wasn't just protecting his daughter. He was ending this, for good. The parking lot behind the old warehouse sat deep in Kansas City's industrial outskirts. Flickering streetlights cast long, broken shadows over rusted shipping containers and cracked asphalt. Daniel sat in his car, hands on the steering wheel. The duffel bag rested in the passenger seat, completely empty. But the most important thing was tucked in his coat pocket. A tiny voice recorder. Red light blinking. Already recording. His phone lit up with a final message from Detective Harris. In position. Wait for the confession. Give us the nod. 8:02 p.m. Headlights sliced through the darkness. A gray car pulled in, its engine humming low. Jake stepped out first, leather jacket, slick hair, casual swagger that reeked of someone who thought they owned the moment. Emily followed behind, sling bag over one shoulder, her eyes darting curiously around. When she saw Daniel standing there, her steps hesitated. No anger, no apology, just confusion. Jake waved. There he is, the man with the money. Daniel stepped out of the car, holding the bag. The night air was sharp, cutting. Every sound, distant traffic, wind through broken fences, felt like it could shatter the moment. Where's the cash? Jake asked, his grin crooked and smug. Daniel didn't answer right away. He held up the duffel, then tossed it on the ground between them. Before that, I want to hear what you're planning. From your mouth. Jake raised an eyebrow, pretending to be surprised, but something flickered in his eyes, just for a second. Emily stood frozen, watching both of them, caught in the middle of a puzzle she didn't know was already solved. Jake stepped closer, cocky as ever. What I'm planning? Easy. Girl like her's got potential. Believes everything I say. Few months, she gets me into your finances. Maybe some contacts. Bit of sympathy cash. Then I'm gone. That simple. The wind died. Even the shadows seemed to stop moving. Daniel turned to Emily, speaking slowly, painfully. You still think that's your father? She didn't respond. Her eyes welled up, her mouth slightly open, but no words came. Jake shrugged, still grinning. Hey, it's just business. Man, you offered. I accepted. Daniel nodded once. Yeah, and you just confessed. He pulled out the voice recorder. Hit stop. Held it up. A flash of red and blue burst into the parking lot. Sirens wailed. 2 officers swept in from behind a container. Jake spun around, cursing, but it was too late. Detective Harris was already on him. Jacob Miles, you're under arrest for attempted fraud, exploitation of a minor, and multiple outstanding warrants. Jake struggled as they cuffed him, shouting, he set me up. This is entrapment. Daniel stepped forward, calm as ice. No, you did this the moment you lied to her. Emily stood in silence, trembling, her world cracked beneath her feet. She didn't cry out, didn't run to him, didn't say thank you. And Daniel? He didn't ask for it. Rachel was already on the porch when Daniel pulled into the driveway. Her eyes were red, fingers gripping the railing like it could stop everything from falling apart. Where's Emily? What happened? She asked, voice shaking. Daniel walked right past her. She's safe. Jake's gone. That's all you need to know. Wait, Daniel, we can fix this. He stopped on the 4th step. Didn't turn around. No, I saved her. That's all I ever owed this house. Then he kept walking, leaving behind a woman sobbing in the hall. A house full of silence. And a daughter who had just seen the man she denied fight for her to the end. The next afternoon, Kansas City felt colder than usual, even with the sun trying to break through the clouds. The light spilled weakly into the dusty garage where Daniel knelt on the concrete floor. Quiet, still, just the soft creak of wood and the whisper of worn strings stretching into place. Emily's old guitar lay across his lap, scratched body, broken neck, strings snapped months ago in a teenage fit of rage. He'd meant to throw it out. He never did. And now, he knew why. Because this was the only thing left he could still fix. Every crack was patched with careful layers of wood glue. He clamped the fractured neck, replaced the strings one by one. His fingers moved slowly, deliberately. Each note he tested, each breath he took, was like stitching shut a wound that had been bleeding for far too long. Rachel appeared at the garage door. Her eyes were sunken, her voice fragile. Daniel, she's upstairs. She won't talk to me. What happened last night? What did you do? He didn't look up, just kept tightening the final peg. I took care of it. Jake won't bother her again. She stepped closer, almost pleading. Thank God. But what now? She's broken. Dan, we need to. He cut her off. No fire. No shouting. Just the steady voice of someone who'd bled dry. There's no we. Rachel. That word died the night you let her believe I wasn't her father. He stood, brushed off the dust, lifted the guitar, now restored, healed, then climbed the stairs like a man walking through a place he once called home. He stopped in front of Emily's room. From inside came the soft, stuttering sound of a girl crying, not out of anger, but from a kind of grief that didn't know its name yet. Daniel placed the guitar gently by the door. No knocking, no note, just something quietly left behind. A part of him, still whole. Later, he returned to his office, opened the drawer, pulled out the file. Divorce papers, already signed 2 days ago. Rachel stood at the bottom of the stairs as he descended, eyes full of unshed tears. Hope clung to her like perfume that had long since faded. Daniel handed her the documents. She took them, blinking fast. Daniel, no, please, don't do this. We can fix it. We're a family. He looked at her, no anger, no regret, just truth. We were a family. You broke that, not me. He walked past her, grabbed the duffel bag, laptop, a few clothes. The family photo stayed behind, still face down on the mantel. Rachel sobbed behind him. Where will you go? Daniel paused at the door. Somewhere else. You and Emily can keep the house. I'm done holding together a family that doesn't want me. And with that, he stepped out into the cold. That evening, Emily finally opened her bedroom door. The hallway was silent. At her feet sat the guitar, repaired, clean, strung, alive. She dropped to her knees, touched the body of the instrument with trembling hands, ran her fingers across the strings. A single note rang out, gentle, pure, the same G chord her father had taught her years ago. A tear fell, soaking into the wood, tracing the same crack Daniel had once repaired. She didn't speak, didn't chase him. She just held the guitar close to her chest, and for the first time in years, felt like she was still loved. It was colder than usual in Colorado that December. Snow blanketed the pine-covered hills, and the sky wore a soft silver-gray silence. In a small wooden cabin nestled at the edge of the forest, Daniel Carter opened his eyes to a pale morning light filtering through the frost-lined window. The wooden bed creaked as he sat up. Beside it, a desk held his laptop, a few bills, and a guitar leaning gently against a worn chair. No knocks at the door. No one calling, "Dad." Just stillness. And, sometimes, stillness was enough. It had been over 3 months since he left Kansas City. He hadn't run. He had let go, to breathe, to exist, to live a life where he wasn't clinging to something that had already let go of him long ago. Freelance accounting jobs covered the basics. His days were simple: early mornings, hot coffee, a bit of work, long walks through the woods, and evenings with a few chords plucked from memory. That music had no lyrics, but it always sounded like Emily. He hadn't received a call, no texts. Rachel never reached out, and Daniel, he didn't expect them to. Until the day it snowed again. A small parcel sat on the porch of the cabin. No name, no return address. He opened it slowly. Inside was an old photo, their family photo at the park. The one he had once turned face down on the mantel. But now, it had changed. Someone had drawn over his face, softly, carefully, a faint halo sketched above his head. On the back, in handwriting he recognized, trembling and ink smudged. I played it again. It sounded like you. Daniel couldn't breathe for a moment. He held the photo tight, as if it could fall apart if he let go, like a piece of his heart had returned in the quietest, most unexpected way. That night, he tuned the guitar and sat by the fire. The chords came slow, nothing complex. Just simple notes that formed the shape of a memory. Emily's laugh on the grass. Her tiny hand wrapped around his finger. The way she clung to his side at school drop-off. The moment she didn't say goodbye. Each note said something he never could. I love you, kid, no matter what. Daniel never went back to Kansas City. But every year on Emily's birthday, a small package would show up at her doorstep. New sketchbooks, fresh strains, a set of watercolors. No note, no sender. Emily grew older, went to college, built a life. But every time she picked up that guitar and struck those familiar chords, she remembered the father she once rejected. had never once let her go. And Daniel, beneath the quiet snow-covered trees of Colorado, played that tune every year. The last song. No lyrics. Because now, the melody was enough.